Hey there YouTube, it's me TFI Wilderness. Welcome to my channel and welcome to this, my worst bots of 2023. This is the first of 3 videos that are going to round out the year of 2023. Today I will be doing my worst bots list, and in a couple of days time on Friday the 29th I will be doing my top bots or best bots of the year, and then obviously on the 31st I'll be doing my usual end of month bot haul to just round out these 3 videos which are going to end off, the year of 2023. So today I've got beside me all the worst bots that I got throughout the year, and the way I calculate or the way I generate my my worst bots list is if you're a regular viewer of mine, you'll know I do these end of month bot hauls at the end of every month, and at the end of each video I do what I refer to as my first and worst, where I pick out the most favourite and least favourite, or the best and the worst figure that I got in any given month. Now that gives me an instant, top 12 list of best bots and worst bots. But this year, I will say this system that I use to generate these bots hasn't worked particularly well. There's been so many months this year where I got to the end of my haul video and it was like, and I really struggled to come up with a top bot or a worst bot. It was a real mission or real problem this year for me to generate these decisions, and you'll probably notice if you go to my end of month bot haul videos, when it gets to the first and worst, I really struggle, because any given month there isn't a particular bot that jumps out as being worse than the rest or better than the rest. So some of the bots that are on this list maybe don't deserve to be here, so I'm just putting that caveat in at the front. Some people might disagree with some of my decisions. I mean, there's quite a few, legacy evolution bots here that, some people probably like and I dislike for reasons that I'm going to give, but I'm going to try my best to justify the reasons why I've given them the thumbs down, the wooden spoon, or whatever. So let's get started. Let's get stuck into this list. So starting with, now I do these in chronological order of purchase, throughout the month. So starting with January through to December, and then obviously there will be some dishonourable mentions at the end. So starting off with the first bot, January 2023, the worst bot I got was this guy. Hello Carbot Samba Drill Burst. Now, this bot, the reason it was the worst bot that I got in January, one of the reasons was it's part of the Hello Carbot Samba toy line, which was season 11 of the Hello Carbot, which I decided, because they got the Samba gimmick and I really liked the Samba gimmick, and I decided to buy all the figures from the Samba toy line. However, the following toy line, season 12, Hello Carbot Bumba, they introduced 2 new Samba bots. So I bought all the bots for the Samba toy line, and then they did 2 more, and that really upset me. And the 2 figures they came up with, they ain't particularly great. And this guy in particular, I really don't like him. Now in robot mode he doesn't look too bad. Now if I take off his Samba animal, come on, he doesn't look too bad in robot mode. He's got a lot of blues and purples going on, and people who like Decepticons might think, oh, that looks pretty cool. However, his alt mode is a drill tank, an ugly drill tank, and I don't like the alt mode. I mean, it just reminds me of probably one of the worst Korean toys I've ever bought, which is Mini-Force X Max Bot from the Mini-Force X combiner. He's got a really ugly drill tank, and his robot mode is absolutely complete piece of junk, because he forms the legs of the combiner, and he's like heavily heavily compromised by the combiner engineering. But this guy, his robot mode looks good, but his Samba bot, which is basically a chunk of his alt mode which turns into a robotic animal, I mean, just look at this fig. Come on, there we go. He turns into a robotic mole. So yeah, he returns into a robotic mole. As Drill Burst is a drill tank, his Samba animal is a mole, which is a bit a bit ridiculous, really. So, and then the Samba gimmick. They basically plug in the back, and then this bit comes down. And it forms some armour, and then you've got the power-up gimmick there. And so yeah, I like the gimmick, the interchangeability of the Samba animals between the characters to give them different power-ups. It's really great. But this figure, the fact that, one, it's another Samba bot that came out, you know, after the line was finished, you know, and I had to buy it, and then it had to be an ugly drill tank. So the robot mode, the basic robot mode isn't too bad, but the alt mode is horrible, and the Samba bot is really weird as well. So yeah, I really, and I only bought this thing. I would not have bought it were it not for the fact it's a Samba bot and I wanted to collect all the Samba bots. So this is a bot that I would easily have steered well clear of were it not for that fact. So there we go. First bot, January. Hello Carbot, Samba, drill, burst. Right, moving on to February. Another Korean toy. Tobot V Mini Leo Kaiser. Now, the Tobot V mini figures, they're basically scaled down versions of the big figures. They transform fairly similar to the originals. Maybe some articulation joints that have been, you know, taken out, and they're not as well painted. Now this guy looks decent enough in his robot mode, and his alt mode looks pretty good, but it's the articulation on this guy that really annoyed me. For instance, his hips, they barely move. His knee only goes to 45 degrees. His elbow doesn't even go to 45 degrees. You know, he's got a fixed head, no waist joint. You know, he's very restricted articulation wise, and yeah, very disappointed in this guy. He does look good. He is decently painted, but you know, the lack of articulation joints on this guy really did it in for me. And in February, out of all the bots I got in February, this guy was, in my opinion, the least favourite bot that I got in February. I don't hate it per se. It's just that, you know, the articulation or lack of articulation really annoyed me about this guy, and it made him the candidate for being the worst bot that I got in February. So, Tobot V Mini Leo Kaiser. Right, moving on to March. Legacy Evolution Core Class Grimlock. Yeah. Now, last year, he's up there. Last year, I got Core Class Snarl, and I gave him a worst bot, or I can't. Was it? I definitely think I'm sure I gave him a worst bot nomination because, you know, he's been so heavily mauled by the combiner gimmick. You know, his Dino mode. Yeah. Yeah, it was all that. And it's basically the same with Grimlock. He doesn't look too bad in robot mode, but when you transform him into Dino mode... he's got all this, you know, these massive chunky legs that form the tail, and it's like, really? You know, I'm sorry. Yeah, like the Power of the Primes, you know, sort of Grimlock for, you know, the Volcanicus combiner they did for Power of the Primes. He was heavily mauled by the combiner gimmick. He had all the combiner, you know, joints, ports, you know, all over his alt mode, and it made him look bad in robot mode, Dino mode again. It's the same deal with this guy. Because of the way he's engineered for the combiner gimmick, you know, he just looks like junk in Dino mode, and it's a shame, really. I didn't ask for a core class combiner, but they did it, and I know some people think it's really good, and yeah, it's going to get repainted as Dino King further down the line, you know, in maybe Legacy United that's coming next year. But this guy, he was easily, in my opinion, the candidate for worst bot I got in March, because of all this, this engineering to make the combiner work just ruined his robot mode and his dino mode especially. So Legacy Evolution Core class Grimlock, he got my thumbs down, wooden spoon in March because of those reasons. Right, April. Now, April, I went to the NEC Toy Fair. It was one of the 2 events that the NEC Toy Fair happened this year. I mean, today I'm filming this on December 27th, and normally I would go to the NEC Toy Fair on December 27th. But unfortunately, there isn't one this year because the organiser Barry Potter had a bit of a disagreement with the NEC event or venue organisers. I think over the car parking arrangement, the free car parking arrangement, and yeah, basically he cut back the number of NEC Toy Fairs at the NEC from 4 events to 2 events, and one of those was in April. So I went along with a little bit more money than I usually take because there was fewer NEC Toy Fairs. Usually I take £100, but I think I took a bit extra cash. And I'm going round, I bumped into or found, Russ, Toys R Us had his store going, and he had on his stall that Legacy Evolution Creatures Collide 4-pack, the one that's got the gold bug in it, and the repaints of the other, sort of like figures. And I wanted that gold bug. And there was a couple of people who had that pack at the event. Somebody was doing it for 50 quid, but he was doing it for 35, and I couldn't believe it. So I bought it, and I opened it up to make sure that it was all there because the price he was doing it at was so cheap. Anyway, when I got it home, obviously the gold bug's a really good figure. The rest of the repaints, I couldn't really care less about. And there's one figure in particular in that set that, yeah, a mould that I really dislike, and it got a dishonourable mention in a previous bots list. So that's Buzzworthy Bumblebee, Legacy Evolution, Creatures Collide, Scorponok in, sort of cartoon colours. Now, this mould, I hate this mould. I hate the way it transforms. The fact that, you open him up, his legs, one leg forms, the tail wraps around the tail, the other scrunches up in his torso. His proportions are very stocky and stumpy because, he in the show he was a big bot. He should have been a Voyager in my opinion, not like a scrawny Deluxe. I mean, these colours, you could say these colours are better than the original mould, what was it, was it the Kingdom Deluxe? But I still hate this mould. I really hate this mould. I hate it so much. It's really, really awful. And last time I put this on my worst bot list, he got a dishonourable mention because I got him the same month I got Trax. And, Kingdom Trax, we all know how universally hated that figure is. And basically, Kingdom Trax got the worst vote on that particular video, which made this the original mould of this as a dishonourable mention. But this time, he's got the floor to himself. So yeah, in April, this guy was a shoe-in for the worst spot. It was a no-brainer really for me because I really dislike this mould, and here I am getting it again. Yeah, in different colours. I mean, he's made out of transparent plastic as well, and we all know how bad transparent plastic is. So yeah, Legacy Evolution, Creatures Collide, 4-pack, Scorponok. Yeah, he's not great. So he was my worst pick for April. Then into May, during a couple of months this year, I put a pre-order for up in the corner of the room. You can see her up there. Legacy Evolution Nemesis, the Titan class. I bought that, but because I bought it from In Demand for under 200 quid, and I bought it using that PayPal pay in free thing, where it split the payment up into 3 separate chunks of about, what was it, about £69 or whatever it was. Anyway, because of that, it took a chunk out of my monthly budget, and I was trying to save money with the other bots that I bought to counteract this. And as a result, the Korean toys that I bought during this time were like minifigures rather than the big full-size figures. And one of the bots that I ordered was this guy. Hello Carbot Mini Sky Gunner. Now, Sky Gunner is a character that came out in one of the Hello Carbot movies, Save the Moon, which was it the second movie? You've got Secret of Omphalos Island. I think it was it the third movie? Anyway, he was in one of the movies, and he turns into like a futuristic, like an A-10 tank buster, Warthog, type, ground attack aircraft. The original toy, the full-size toy, is like unobtainium. It was available for a very short time. It sold out. You can't get one now. You can't get one. And I bet if you did see one come up, it'd be at horrendous, scalper prices. So I never bought the original figure. I was half interested in getting it. I got what was the other? Oh yeah, I got Sonar Diver. I got Sonar Diver because it turns into the submarine. I got him, but I didn't get the Sky Gunner. So I decided to get the mini version. So I got it, and yeah, QC issues for starters. The articulation on this thing, his arms go out from side to side. They kind of go forwards and backwards on this ball joint, but yeah. Also, I'm getting stress marks on the ball joints on the shoulders, which is great. He's got parts forming when you transform him from his robot mode to with this big yellow chunk here. It part forms, which is also great. But yeah, it's the QC issue on the foot. I suppose I could tighten it up if I really tried, but because he was so small and basic and essentially naff, it made him a candidate for the worst bot that I got in May. So yeah, this guy. Hello Carbot Mini Sky Gunner from the Save the Moon movie. He's not very good, and he made it. That made him the worst bot that I got in May. Now moving on to June. Now, June again, I was still paying back that, paying off that Legacy Evolution Titan class Nemesis. Still paying that off, so I was looking around to buy cheap bots. And the Rise of the Beasts toy line started to hit the shops with all the gimmick toys. And there was one of these, was it Beast Alliance Beast Combiner 2-packs that came out that had a character in it that I really wanted, but I wasn't interested in getting the other figure, and it was the what was it? Rise of the Beast, Beast Alliance, Beast Combiner, Optimus Primal, and Skullcruncher. Now, Skullcruncher is one of the characters I like to collect all the molds for, and so I bought this pack solely to get the Skullcruncher mold. But Skullcruncher is he's not on my worst list. It's not the Skullcruncher that I dislike or hate. It's the Optimus Primal that comes with it. So right, this Optimus Primal it's a Beast Combiner. So the idea is you get this thing, you plonk it on top this way around like that, and then you move the legs out the way, and then you open the top, and then you pull it down, and it forms armor for Primal. And he's got thing, and and I think the tail comes off, and you can use it as a sword. Yeah, the tail comes off. You can use it as a sword. And so it does that. But the Skullcruncher, even though he just turns into armor for Primal, he doesn't have a robot mode of his own. He does form a fairly convincing crocodile, and he's got a little bit of articulation, I suppose. He's got the combiner joint where he can move his head round, and he's got ball jointed legs that move a little bit. So yeah, he's okay. He's all right. I don't hate him. It's the Primal. Very, very basic. The transformation is ridiculously simple. You basically pull this out, spin that round, and then you straighten out the arms, scrunch up the legs, and he's done. Stupidly simple transformation. Yeah, there's nothing to it. It's really nothing to it. And yeah, that is it. I mean, he's got very limited articulation. He's just got ball jointed shoulders, ball jointed hips. He's got hinge at the knee and then a hinge at the foot. And you just scrunch him up for beast mode, and then stand him up and flip round his chest for robot mode. Very, very crude, very, very simple. And out of all the bots I got in June, this guy was a shoe-in for the worst bot, because he's just so basic. He's so simplistic. He's basically a gimmick toy, and yeah, that's why he's the worst bot that I got that month, because of these reasons. But like I said, I only bought it for the Skull Cruncher figure. Got this Primal along with it. It doesn't do a lot, you know. So there we go. That was the worst I got in June. So right, July again. Like I said, trying to save money, because I was paying off that doing those PayPal paying free payments for my Legacy Evolution Titan class. I actually got it in July, but again, buying cheap bots in order to counteract it. Hello Carbot Mini Converster. Now, I've got the original Converster. It's one of those sort of one-step changer figures. It's like a leader class figure, but it's got a very simple transformation. It's got no articulation on the legs. Alt modes to die for. It's got like a drop top, you know, sort of like Lamborghini style, you know, sort of sports coupe. Amazing alt mode. Just the robot mode doesn't do a lot. Then you get the mini version. Now the mini version has mainly, it's got all this waffling on the inside of his arms when you transform him. Doesn't look great. You can pop the arms off and switch them round, but then you haven't got the hands for the robot mode. He's got ball jointed shoulders, which give him some motion. The arms just fold down like that. Very crude. He does have working legs. He does have ball jointed legs and knees that go to 90 degrees, which the big figure doesn't. The legs on the big figure don't work, but the minifigure has got some articulated legs. But it's all this ugly, you know, waffling or, you know, stuff in here that doesn't make him look particularly good. I mean, I know what they was trying to do. They was trying to give it some, you know, sort of tech detail on the inside of the arms, but it doesn't look good. It really doesn't. And because he's a small basic bot and he doesn't look particularly great, that made him, like I said, the worst bot that I got in July. So that's Hello Carbot Mini Converster. Now August. August was, you know, TF Nation. Went to TF Nation. Bought a bunch of stuff, as I do, because, you know, I save up all year round to take a big wad of money to TF Nation. It allows me to buy lots of stuff. And throughout the and obviously I had it in mind. I wanted to pick up a few, you know, Rise of the Beasts things, because I do want to get a basic lineup of the characters from Rise of the Beasts. But because they're being released as part of, you know, like the main line and the Studio Series line, you're getting duplications on certain characters. You know, getting multiple versions, you know, multiple toys being made in, you know, sort of different variants, and yeah. But anyway, enough said. Went round TF Nation. I think it was on the Saturday afternoon. I was, you know, sort of I was getting to the end of my daily budget, and I was looking around for some cheap bots to buy, and I found that Geekology had this guy on the stall. Studio Series Rise of the Beast Core Class Freezer. Wanted to get him because he's one of the Terracons, and also he can convert into a gun, or he's an accessory bot that you can put on Scourge. However, this thing is full of ball joints, and they are super floppy, especially on the legs. The legs on this guy are awful. He's got these Digistruct legs, but they only have two joints. They have a joint in the bottom and a joint at the top. So he's got a joint up there and a joint on the foot. Posing this guy or getting him to stand up is a challenge. It really is. Because of the way the legs are, he's such a nightmare to pose. He really is. And his alt modes that he transforms into, he transforms into a cannon and then like a mounted gun, and it's neither here nor there really. He's a weird bot, but it's the QC issues on the ball joints on the legs that just really did it in for me. Now I understand Novocaine, the repaint or the reissue of this mold, they've tweaked the tolerances on the ball joints, and it's a much better figure. But obviously this is one of the original freezer molds, and it's got all the QC issues that you'd expect. So yeah, this was, in my opinion, the worst bot that I got in August for those reasons, because it's just the legs just crap, and the rest of the figure it ain't great thing to mess around with really. So yeah, that made him the worst bot that I got in August. Now September, I bought a couple of sort of KO quality bots, or Chinese made KO-ish bots from AliExpress in September. I bought two of them, and one of them turned into a train. And even though it had the usual sort of QC issues connected with it being like a Chinese-made figure, the fact that its alt mode made it what it was, and I really liked it because of its alt mode. But the other figure I bought because, in my opinion, it had a similarity to a character from the Transformers IDW More Than Meets the Eye, character called Fulcrum from the Scavengers. Now I really like the Scavengers. I've been trying to get my sort of a deluxe like chug scale set of the characters from the Scavengers lineup, but I am missing a Fulcrum. Now Fulcrum, he's what they called a K-bot. I think he was a Decepticon deserter or whatever, and he got caught, and then he got reconfigured into a K-bot, which is basically they transform into a bomb, and then they basically a suicide bomber where the Decepticons go to a planet and they drop all these K-class bombs onto and just wipe out anything on the ground, just carpet bomb them with these K-class bots that are basically suicide bombers. He didn't go off, and he got found by the Scavengers, who were basically robbing his parts, and he came to while they had his heart or his his Energon pump in the hand, and he became one of the Scavengers. He's a great figure. Like I said, he transformed into like a classic sort of bomb, long cylindrical thing with a rounded tip and flights on the end. And I really wanted a figure of Fulcrum to go with my Scavengers lineup. And I noticed there was this figure on AliExpress that kind of looked like him and transformed into a missile, which was, again, alt mode is very similar. So I decided to get it. Unfortunately, this is the alt mode, right? It turns into an intercontinental ballistic missile. Now, its proper name is Ling 2022 MF 7198 Xiongshi Qibing, which I believe I've been trying to do a translation of the Xiongshi Qibing, and I believe it it translates roughly as heroic soldiers. But anyway, this is his. I didn't show his alt mode in the end of month bot haul where I showed this thing after getting it. But this is the alt mode. It kind of looks like a V2 rocket. If you was to paint it up in the checker pattern, it looked like a V2 rocket. Yeah, so it turns into a missile, which isn't quite right for Fulcrum's alt mode. He turns into a bomb, not a rocket. So yeah. He turns into a bot that's basically leader scale. He does have die cast on him, but the articulation on the joints, he's barely got any articulation on the legs. The hips don't move at all. He's got like 45-degree knee articulation. Very, very disappointing. He does have a waist joint. He's got a little articulation on the arms, but he's too big, and he only bears a somewhat resemblance to Fulcrum's robot mode, though some of the kibble isn't quite right. The shoulder kibble's totally wrong, and yeah, it doesn't work. It's too big. It kind of looks like him, but it doesn't. And this bot is just, yeah, it's a typical KO bot. It's got all the issues you'd expect with a KO figure from China. It's got, things that don't quite fit, looseness, limited articulation, the whole 9 yards. It's got all that, and the alt mode is this big big silver missile. So yeah, that's it. It just didn't work for me for its intended purpose, and it made me get buyer's regret after I bought it. And when you get buyer's regret, that automatically makes it one of the worst bots you get in any given year. It's very rare I get buyer's regret, but I got it on this guy. But I decided to keep it, and there it is. So that was why it was the worst bot that I got in September. The Ling Dong MF 7198 Xiongshi Qibing, or what was it called? Heroic Soldiers missile. Then in October, I went to NEC Toy Fair, and I bought a few things. And there was a figure that I saw at the NEC Toy Fair. I decided to buy it because I almost bought it at the TF Nation Minicon. I almost bought it there, but I didn't. And I saw it for sale at the NEC Toy Fair, and I decided to get it. And yeah, now I got this because I knew that the original version of the character, the Armada version of the character, is a bit of a brick and doesn't do a lot. So I was hoping that the Energon figure would be better. Energon Hotshot. Now, this figure isn't great. It's got very weedy arms. He's a Powerlinx character, and I very much dislike the Powerlinx gimmick because it's got that thing whereby he splits to become a pair of trousers or a pair of or a torso, and it's not a great gimmick, and in my opinion it kind of ruined a lot of the Autobot molds in the Energon toy line. Was the Powerlinx gimmick. This thing on its own, he's got his head's on a stalk that sort of rests in position. He's got this gun which has a missile that shoots quite well actually. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the Powerlinx gimmick from Energon, and I bought this thing thinking it was going to be a decent figure, a better figure than the Armada one. I haven't got the Armada Hotshot. I decided to get this one instead, and it was such a disappointment. I should have known better because it's a Powerlinx gimmick. I knew that it was going to be compromised because of that. So yeah, not a fan of this thing. I bought it from the NEC, I think it was the NEC Toy Fair in October. Not a great figure, and it was, in my opinion, the worst bot that I got in October. Now this next one will come as a surprise to a lot of people. In November, in my opinion, the worst bot that I got in November... Legacy Evolution Bombshell. Now hear me out. In robot mode, he doesn't look too bad. He looks alright, and I got Kickback last year, and Kickback... I decided, well, I've got the legend scale, sort of Insecticons. I got the legend scale ones. And at TF Nation this year, I got the G1s. And I bought Kickback, and I decided I was going to get the Legacy Evolution Deluxes. So I got Kickback. Kickback was on my worst list last year because he's so simplistic. He's just ridiculously simple. Shrapnel's okay. I don't mind Shrapnel. Shrapnel's alright. But Bombshell. Now, like I said, robot mode, he looks fine. The big gripe I've got with this guy is when you transform him into his bug mode, he doesn't look much like a beetle because... And it's mainly because they've cut and pasted Shrapnel's legs and put them on Bombshell. Instead of re-engineering the legs to make it look more like the rounded, sort of shell of a beetle, it's just a big, thick, black, blocky carbuncle stuck to the back of him. And also the bug's legs. He's got these two bug's legs on his shoulders, and then the other two bug's legs that he's got are these pegged things. These little things, which sort of peg onto the back of his arms, but they peg onto his legs and they sort of stick out. They don't look much like Bug's legs. They're very vestigial at best. So in alt mode, he doesn't look much like an insect to me. Yeah, and in that opinion, that reason, it just ruined this mold for me. It just ruined it. Because, when I look at the Legacy Evolution, not Legacy, the Legends one, that forms a much better beetle. The Legends Bombshell. This one, that forms a much better beetle mode, and this is a decent little figure. But this guy, now I know they was trying to do it as per how the character appeared in the G1 cartoon series, and in the G1 cartoon series they were again simplistic designs, for the sake of animation, and I get that's what they were going for, but but the toy, they could have made a bit more effort to remold the legs to look more like beetle mode than just a black block stuck to the back. So I know that's a unfair criticism to level at this figure and make it one of the worst bots I got this year, but it's my opinion. At the end of the day, you might disagree with my opinion, but in my opinion, that's why I dislike this bot. That's why it was the worst bot that I got in November. Legacy Evolution Deluxe Bombshell. Yep. And then finally for December, and this is a teaser for my end of month bot haul because I haven't actually shown this yet. I went to the MCM Comic Con at the beginning of the month, and obviously In Demand was there, and I took a lot of money. I took over 200 quid with the intention of buying some big expensive bots. In the end, I bought about 5 or 6 items and didn't spend as much money as I was hoping to because there wasn't as much stuff there that I wanted to buy. So I bought a few things, and then I was just about, done with, bought all the things I wanted to buy, and then I looked down on their store and I saw something else, and it was a 2-pack Legacy Evolution War Dawn 2-pack with Ariel and Dion in, and I saw it and I thought I kind of like the look of Ariel, couldn't care less about Dion, so I bought it. And then when I got home and started messing with the figures, I realised they ain't great, mainly because the plastic they've been made from was a kind of a bendy plastic, and Ariel really suffers when you're trying to transform her because the plastic's kind of soft and bendy, and because of the nature of a alt mode, you have to sort of fold the limbs up and then clip them together, and it didn't really work that well. But that's nothing compared to this guy. Legacy Evolution War Dawn 2-pack Deluxe Dion. Now, it is the Studio Series 86 Cup mould, repainted, retooled for Dion. And there's some people out there saying it's a great version of the character of Dion. Now, I'm not a fan of the G1 cartoon. Couldn't care less about it. Couldn't care less about this figure, to be honest, this character. Even though, as I understand it, Dion is the precursor for Ultra Magnus, and I am a big fan of Ultra Magnus as a character, so I could justify owning this thing because of that reason. However, QC issues on this thing are rampant. Most notably, the arms. Right? They fall off at the slightest provocation. You move them, they fall off. Now, I know it was part of that gimmick on Cup, Studio Series 86 Cup, because there's that scene in Transformers the movie where they're on the planet Quintesson, and Cup's they're underwater, and Cup's been wrestling with that robotic squid, and then Hot Rod comes in and rescues him, and his arms and legs get pulled off, and he has to repair him. So they introduced that gimmick whereby you can sort of pull his arms and legs off to recreate that scene. Now, the leg joints are okay. The leg joints, they fit okay. They're not loose, they don't come off. But the arm joints, they barely hold on. They barely hold on. The QC issues on the arm joints is awful. And then you go onto the legs. There's a panel on the leg that comes round. That one's all right, but the one on the other side, there goes an arm. You bring that round. Oh, it's working now. Oh, there it goes. It keeps popping off, and it's down to this plastic quality that they've used on it. It's kind of soft and yeah, not great. And transforming this guy is not fun either. Getting him into his alt mode it's a mash. It really is, because things don't fit together very well. Again, because of the poor plastic quality on this. So yeah, I'm sorry, but that meant that, in my opinion, this was the worst bot I got this month because of those QC issues. I don't really care much for the character, and it's got all these QC issues as well. So that made it a candidate for the worst bot that I got in December. So there is my full list for the 12 months, and I do have a few dishonourable mentions just to round this video off. Starting in March, I've got this guy, Tobot V Mini Tachyon. This guy, for a Tobot minifigure, the articulation is like his knees barely go to 45 degrees. His hips are very restricted. Bits fall off. He's got solid arms with no arm joints. Yeah, all those reasons. He's got a lot of the typical problems that a Tobot V Mini has got. He is decently painted. Needed a bit more paint. I mean, in car mode, I think he's missing a few paint apps, but all the minifigures are missing paint apps. So, yeah, there's him. He was a bit disappointing, so we got a dishonourable mention in March. Now in June, this one. Again, another one which some people might disagree with. Beachcomber, Legacy Evolution Beachcomber. Now, I'm a huge Beachcomber fan. I like to collect all the character molds for Beachcomber. And when I got this one, it's an okay figure on the whole, but there's a few kibbly little issues. Well, there's a few issues with it, like nitpicky issues, which really annoyed me about it. One of them is these silver triangles on his legs. In my opinion, they have no right to be there. Now, I did do some research. The reason they're there is because if you look at the original Fliro Deary character design for Beachcomber for the G1 cartoon, in the robot mode, it clearly shows these silver panels on his legs. But in alt mode, they're not there. Now, if you look on the box art for this guy. Yeah, so if you look on the box art, you can see, one, his alt mode hasn't got any silver panels on there. And when you look on the back, no silver panels. None on the legs, none on the hood. And yet the toy's got them on. That's one of my gripes. The other gripe is in alt mode, you see here, you've got the this panel that sticks up in front of the driver's vision. These things. Now, if you look at the illustration, you can see the driver's got clear vision. There's nothing sticking up in front of the driver. And then you look at his alt mode, you can see the driver can barely see where he's going because he's got these panels sticking up. Now, I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to off-road vehicles, and those panels should be there because an off-road vehicle like Beachcomber is, they have what's called a shield panel because it's an open cockpit, and when you're tear-arsing through the desert, through the sand dunes or in the dirt track, the front wheels, because they're open, they will kick up stone and grit, and you have this sort of shield panel in front of the driver that deflects the wind and any debris over the top of the cockpit while you're going along. I mean, you'll be wearing a helmet anyway, but that's what it's there for. But they've gone over the top with his feet. I mean, it would have been nice if they'd have had a thing whereby they folded down, but they overdid it a bit there, I think. And those two quibbles makes him a dishonourable mention, even though he's an okay bot. I like Beachcomber. I collect all the moulds. This is a decent mould. Otherwise, the other thing is his gun. It forms, part of the. It forms the grill of the alt mode, which it's like Legacy Crankcase. He's got the same issue. His gun forms the front of the vehicle mode. If you lose the gun, you can't form the alt mode properly. He's got that issue as well. So yeah, not strong enough to make him a worst bot, but a dishonourable mention at least. So yeah, that's why he's a dishonourable mention. In July, Tobot, Hello Carbot Mini Beatrun. Similar problem to Converster. This guy looks a lot better in robot mode. He's missing serious paint apps. My main gripe with this was because of the way it's engineered, he's got the ball joint in the back that gives his arms a little bit of motion, but I had problems with one of the ball joints was misshapen, and every time you moved the arm it popped off. Also, I'm getting stress marks on the ball cups. He has got working legs, which is more than can be said for the full-sized Beatrun toy. He's a great character in the show, but this toy, it's okay, but it was a bit small, a bit naff, and it's desperately lacking paint apps. It really suffers from lack of paint apps. This guy really, really does. And that's why he's a dishonourable. Then, now this one, picked it up at TF Nation. I'm a fan of the character from the show, and the toy is notorious for being a shell former. Cybertron Deluxe Thunderblast. Now, she forms a boat, which is quite unusual. She has a Cyber Planet key, which, like that, a missile launcher. Now, here's her alt mode, and then if you open the hull of the boat, oh, there she is inside. So she's a notorious shell former, and her character is a bit of a Marmite character in the show. She's kind of a ditzy, sort of fangirl. She's always, fangirl up to Megatron. But I quite like her character in the show. I quite like her, but for all the wrong reasons. And her toy's a bit rubbish because it's a shell former. And I was clutching at straws really this year for dishonourable mentions, and I looked at her and I thought, well, she's a pretty naff figure, otherwise. So I decided to give her a dishonourable mention, even though I don't hate this toy, I don't hate the character. It's just that because of what it is and how it works, it's, you know, I think you'll say that, yeah, this definitely qualifies as one of the worst bots I got this year. But I'm only giving her a dishonourable because Thunderblast. And then finally, September, NEC Toy Fair. Bought a 2-pack. It was a Universe Standoff Beneath the Streets 2-pack with Springer and Ratbat. The Ratbat was a repaint of the Cybertron Sideways mould, and I wanted it for that Ratbat mould. But it came with a repaint of Cybertron Evac as Springer. Now, my Cybertron Evac is missing his rotor blades and his Cyberplanet key pack. And it wasn't until I got home and opened the box, because I could hear some bits rattling around inside, and it wasn't until I got home and opened the box and checked it, I found out that my Springer was missing his rotor blades. And my heart sank, because I've already got one version of this mould who's missing his rotor blades, can't form a proper helicopter mode, and now I've got another one. And trying to get spare parts for this is like unobtainium, impossible. I've got a search going on eBay for Cybertron Evac to try and get hold of some rotor blades, but it's just complete figures, maybe the missiles, but that's all you'll find. This thing is incomplete. It will not form its alt mode properly because it hasn't got the big spinny thing on top that forms a helicopter. And I was so gutted when I found out that, it's my own fault for not checking the box when I bought it from the NEC Toy Fair. But when I got home, my heart just sank, and it was like, oh my God. Oh, it just really, really upset me. And in September, dishonourable mention, Legacy, not Legacy, Universe, Standoff Beneath the Streets 2-pack Springer, because he's missing his rotor blades. So there we go. We're at the end. 50-minute video. What was it? 17 bots that I got this year, which were, the worst of what I got. I mean, like I said, some of these bots on here, you might disagree with my opinions on them, or my the reasons why I made them a dishonourable or a worst bot. But again, it's my opinion. This is my video. You may agree or disagree with my opinion. That's totally up to you. So this is it. It's my worst bot done and dusted. My first bot my best bot is coming in a couple of days' time, so look forward to that. So without that said, I've been TFI Wilderness. Hopefully I'll catch you all next time. Ta-da.